Hey everybody, and welcome to Investing with Wesley. If you've been following along, then you know the 3 critical accounts you need to have. You have a budget set up, you're actively working to pay off your debts. And now before we get into investing, let's talk about the 2 basic fundamentals, compound interest and the rule of 72. Let's get into it. When it comes to earning interest, there's 2 ways to earn interest. There's simple interest and compounding interest. Simple interest is exactly how it sounds. It's incredibly simple. Whatever amount of money you initially invest, in this case $1,000, you earn interest at, in this example, 10%. So every year you're getting 10% of whatever you initially put in. In this example, after the end of the first year, you would have gotten $100. So your balance is now $1,100. But at the end of the second year, it's only $1,200 because in simple interest, you only get interest on the amount of money you initially put in. Now, let's talk about compounding interest. Albert Einstein said that compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And the reason he said that is because with a long enough time scale and a great enough interest rate, you can experience some exponential growth in your investments. Let's use the same example. An initial investment of $1,000 with a 10% rate of return. Now, with compounding interest, your interest earns interest. So at the end of the first year, just like with simple interest, you have $1,100 because in that year you earned $100 worth of interest. But where simple interest and compounding interest differ comes the second year and so on. Because in the second year, you earn 10% on your new balance of $1,100. So at the end of the second year, you have $1,210. So let's do a side-by-side comparison over a longer time horizon than just a year or two. If you invested $1,000 at a 10% return with simple interest, after 30 years of you holding and collecting $100 every year, your account balance would be $4,000. But as a comparison, if you were compounding your interest over time, and you started with the same $1,000 getting the same 10% return, but the only difference was your interest was earning interest, at the end of 30 years, you would have just shy of $20,000 when all you did was put up an initial $1,000. So you could see with a long enough time horizon with a good enough rate of return, compounding interest can give you some exponential growth in your investments. Now, how much interest do you want to earn? That's where the rule of 72 comes in. The rule of 72 states that if you divide the interest rate you're getting on an investment by 72, that'll give you the approximate number of years it's going to take for your money to double. In this example, we've been using a 10% rate of return. So that means every 7.2 years, our money is going to double. So how many doubling periods do you have in your life, and how quickly do you want to double your money? All those need to be taken into account when deciding what kind of interest rates you're going to be trying to get. Now remember the video I talked to you about on the 3 critical accounts. You don't want to have as much interest as possible every time. There are certain accounts like your short-term savings accounts where you want to sacrifice interest earned for downside protection. But in a rule of thumb, if you want to maximize your doubling period, then you use compounding interest combined with the rule of 72 to figure out what kind of interest you want to earn and how quickly you want to grow your money. As an example, getting 10% returns, you're going to double your money every 7.2 years. But if you can get a 12% rate of return, that cuts down your doubling period down to 6 years. If you wanted to double your money every 5 years, you'd have to get a 14% interest or better to hit that 5-year mark. Now, it's because of compounding interest and the rule of 72, we also don't put a lot of money in savings accounts or money market accounts. And those are strictly for emergency funds. Because why would you have a lot of your money in a money market account getting 1% interest when you're barely going to double your money every 72 years? So the example I gave you earlier where we had an upfront investment of $1,000 getting 10% compounded interest. At the end of a 30-year period, you'd be just shy of a $20,000 balance, which is great interest earned. Now, if you wanted to double your money even quicker, all that means is you have to add more money to your investment. So in this example, we start with $1,000 and add an additional $1,000 every month for 30 years. Now, just the amount of money you put in over those 30 years adds up to $360,000. But because of compounding interest and all the money you've put in to shorten those doubling cycles, your balance after the end of 30 years, investing $1,000 a month at a 10% rate of return, is just over $2.2 million. So you could see the exponential growth that's possible with compounding interest over long periods of time and with a decent interest rate. But I also want to talk to you about the third fundamental principle, and that's paying yourself first. Because if you start today and have a lot more time in the market than money in the market, it can grow way more than if you waited and put more in. Let me give you this example. Let's say you wanted to wait 5 years to invest because you're focusing on paying off your debts, or you're in between jobs right now, whatever the reason might be. You decided to wait 5 years. So after 5 years, you now have more money because you decided to wait. So you start with $1,500, and every month you put in an additional $1,500. Even with these added investment values getting the same 10% rate of return, because you're only compounding for 25 years instead of 30, your balance is only $2 million instead of the $2.3 million that you would have had you started 5 years sooner with less money. So all the financial professionals that you see on YouTube that recommend you pay off all your debts first and then start investing, that's good advice to give, but it's not necessarily the best advice. For you, when you create an investment or financial plan, you want something custom tailored to you and to reach your goals. Getting out of debt is a great goal, but if you want to be a millionaire, you might have to not focus on getting out of debt. You might have to focus on investing. So if you don't want to do it yourself and you'd rather leave everything to a professional, feel free to reach out. I'd gladly make you a completely customized and complimentary plan that helps you reach your investment goals in the amount of time needed to reach them. If you're already in the stock market and you've been investing, I encourage you to leave a comment down below telling me what's the best interest rate you've gotten in 1 year's time. The best interest I've ever earned in 1 year period was 38%. But until our next video, I'll see you next time.